right, 10:03 on the fan. What's going on, everybody? This is the Tiki and Tierney Show. So that daily roller coaster here, Tiki, that I have been warning everybody about. One night it's up, Yankees and Mets looking good. 1 week it's down, Yanks and Mets. The world is ending. Last night was the fun part of the ride. Senga was absolutely filthy. Obviously, Judge is still Judge. Nesty was nasty. I mean, last night was a good night.
Yeah, it was a fun night for baseball. But, watching Kodai Senga, and he had his ghost fork rolling, takes me back to what I thought about a month or so, maybe less than a month ago, about him. He had that 12 strikeouts against the Tampa Rays. He was just filthy. Everything was working for him. For the Mets to figure themselves out and get out of this roller coaster, this 500 roller coaster where they sit on. They're now a game above 500, but who knows before they go back below it. Kodai Senga has to ascend to become their ace. They're paying him a good amount of money. Now, they're not paying him Verlander and Scherzer money, but they're paying him a good $75 million to come over from Japan. And he had this tantalizing ability, this tantalizing group of pitches, fastball, the ghost fork. He had a sweeper that he throws, changeup. He had all of these things that look like it would make him a really good Major League Baseball pitcher. And he's had some growing pains. But I got to tell you, BT, when he's on, like he was on last night against the Phillies, he can be the Mets ace. And I feel like with the lack of trust that we have in Verlander, who got banged around his last time out, Scherzer, who is grinding through whatever it is he's grinding through, health and age, Kodai Senga has to be this team's ace if they're going to go anywhere. I know he's not going to line up as the ace. He's not going to be the number one starter at XYZ, but when he takes the ball, he has to do this. And he's learning, and we saw it come to fruition last night. We start throwing that ghost fork, not just to get guys to chase it out of the zone, but throwing it for strikes. If he can do that consistently, this Mets team actually starts to feel like they have some of these answers that we've been clamoring for the last 2 months or so.
You think he does this consistently?
I want to say yes.
I mean, last night, it's the kind of night where you walk away saying, yeah, why not?
Well,
it was that good.
Yeah, he got
one of the best games any New York pitchers had this year.
You're right.
Garrett Cole, you name it. I mean, that was just sublime.
Yep, 9 strikeouts. His last 2 outs in the 7th inning, they were strikeouts.
Yeah, finished hard, finished strong, economical.
He didn't limp his way to the finish.
He was awesome.
It almost felt like, man, throw him out there for another inning. But he had just hit the 100-pitch mark, and it kind of felt perfect. 7 innings, 100 pitches. You strike out 9. You give up a couple big, hard hit balls, but they were corralled, including Nimmo stealing one up from going over the fence. I think that was Castellanos. Right. So if Kodai Senga can do that, then you feel a lot better about the Mets because there's still a lot of questions with the bullpen. I think there's still rotation issues with Verlander and Scherzer on any given night. Senga has to be this guy. Otherwise, the Mets are just going to be 500 for the rest of this season, and nobody wants to see that with a $340-something million payroll.
I mean, listen, he's young and he's strong, so he gives you, in theory, the chance to get deep into games when he's not laboring through, when he doesn't have that 28-pitch inning early, that 30-pitch inning early, where he's able to navigate things early and get in a rhythm. He's the kind of guy, even more so than I still think Verlander's going to have some big games. I do. I think he's going to put up some zeros.
But consistently enough.
No.
He's 40. I mean, that's
the
challenge with Verlander.
But I think his stuff is still there where Scherzer's stuff is shorter. Like Scherzer, to me, the drop in his stuff.
And the velocity.
Yeah, is easier to detect than Verlander, in my opinion. Well, I mean, some of the numbers back that up as well.
Yeah.
The over-reliance on the fastball, the down-tick in fastball velo for talking about Scherzer. So I think that Verlander, Justin's still going to be, he's still going to be periodically dominant. Not that you rely on that to win a pennant, but to your point, you get somebody like Senga who suddenly joins the party, and it does change the complexion because, now all of a sudden the bullpen's not overtaxed, and yeah, it last night felt like the potential start of something really interesting for the Mets.
Yeah. Well,
I know we overreact to one game in baseball. It's probably dangerous, but he's a guy who's been in the crosshairs
of course
for a lot
he
of
is.
reasons.
Well, you know why? Because he has to be, BT. I go look at the starting rotation for the Mets right now. And David Peterson, he's on the 40-man, but he's down, right? He's young. He's 27 years old. Maybe he figures it out at some point. Who knows? Tyler McGill, same way. 27 years old. He's young. You get to everybody else. Carlos Carrasco's 36, going to be 37. Verlander is 40. Right, Scherzer is 38, going to be 39 soon. Right? So when you think about who is a reliable arm for this team, because they have the stuff, right? I don't know if McGill or Peterson has the stuff. Scherzer and Verlander do as well, but they're just old. Right? Who has the stuff, has the youth, has the wherewithal to be that guy every single time he takes the ball and gets on the mound, whether it's 5 or 6, 6 days between. It's been 6 with Senga. I'd love to see it 5 and get him worked into a regular rotation like we're used to seeing, because they're going to need him to be that. If Kodai Senga pitches like he did last night, and he pitches like he did against the Tampa Rays, where he's striking guys out and he has full command of that ghost fork, and he's changing things up with his fastball and changeup, then Kodai Senga is the Mets ace that they've been clamoring for, that they're overpaying everybody else to be. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. But I'm overreacting because I saw something special last night.
That was great. No,
it was special.
He was filthy, man. I mean, he was missing bats all night, and he was outstanding. I guess my question would be, can you be an ace if you can't go on normal rest?
No. That's the thing.
Okay, so at what point do you experiment with that?
Well, this is where the feeling of Buck, like the old school, because this isn't an analytics thing. The analytics aren't going to tell you, well, he's gone through 3 weeks or 4 weeks of pitching on 6 days rest, and if we ratchet it back or ratchet it forward, then this has got to be Buck. This has got to be Buck getting in the head of a young-ish or young American, because he's been in Japan pitching well for years, but the American game and understanding his pitcher. And if he can do that, then Buck will get lauded. If he can't, and he keeps throwing him out there in this inconsistent ways, and he starts pitching inconsistently like he kind of has been, one great outing, another one he gets 106 pitches in 4 innings or whatever the heck it was the other day, right? This is on Buck to figure out how to make him the ace. This is what Buck is paid for, in my opinion, is to figure out his star pitcher or soon-to-be star pitcher in Kodai Senga. That's what Buck has to do. I don't know how he does it. I don't know baseball well enough to know how you take a six-day rotation and make it into a 5-day, but Kodai Senga was unbelievable last night, and right now he is the Mets' best pitcher. Even though Scherzer technically has the best ERA, to me it's Kodai Senga. He has the filthier stuff, and he has the wherewithal to get deep into games.
I didn't see any tweets my way from Stevie Cohen last night. I expected he might follow up and flex on me a little bit. He did not. 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Friends at Town Fair remind that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. I mean, that would be a sick and slick reversal of script if Senga becomes the number one on this team. It actually works.
But wouldn't it make us appreciate Billy Epler and also by extension Buck Showalter, because it was unexpected. Coming into this season, it was all Verlander, Scherzer. That's all we talked about with the Mets. The philosophy. We meant this many times. The philosophy. Get these aged, proven veterans who you can rely upon. The reality is you can't rely upon these guys as much as we thought that we could. I mean, Verlander's ERA plus is sub 100. It's 88. So he's league average. He's 12% worse than league average, right? Scherzer is above 100 at 118, but Senga is trending the right way. He's up to 122. He's trending to be an above-average pitcher, and if he pitches like he did last night on a consistent basis, he's going to be way above average, and to me, that constitutes ace. And the only way this Mets team, which has been flying right in the middle of the road, right? They're not high, not low, they're just flying right in the middle of the road. They're 500 and a game below, game above for the last 3 weeks. is by getting exceptional performances from guys like Kodai Senga who were brought here to be that.
It's definitely it's absolutely a morale boost, there's no doubt. And he was fantastic. You got to give it up. Eric Clinton, let's get to you. He's up first on the fan. Eric, how are you?
What's up, Eric?
Good morning, boys. How we doing?
How you doing, pal?
Doing good, doing good. I just wanted to see if some barrel rate on the exit velo on Lindor's home run passed your threshold last night.
Well, you know, I'm not sure, but I think it was a little bit lower than Volpe's. I'm going to have to double-check those numbers, pal.
Oh, now size matters. You remind me of the guy from the movie Major League. It's like, who gives a bleep? It's out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's right.
I know.
He smashed that one, though.
It was good to see. And, BT, let me ask you this. What if they go upstairs, they duct tape and kidnap Ron Darling and bring him downstairs to try to figure this guy out? Because Buck basically said, I don't have the answers. Ron Darling, in my opinion, is one of the most brightest baseball pitching minds that I've ever listened to. Do you think that he can offer something and possibly figure that, unlock this combination?
I don't listen. It's not going to happen during the season.
No,
I mean, he's an analyst. He's not a coach.
That would be unprecedented, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Does David Cohn ever, kind of slide onto the field before game and kind of exchange thoughts with Yankee pitchers?
It's not illegal.
Not in an actual advisor role, but more in an unscripted way, maybe. And I do agree with your assertion. Ron Darling, he's Ivy educated. He's as smart as it gets. He's got a great personality. He's amazing. It's not a bad resource to tap into. And, would they do it? I think that's probably more of a spring training thing, Eric, like the roving instructors and stuff. But couldn't hurt. I got a lot of respect for Ronnie. You know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always say get the greatest. I mean, listen, they do it in football. They, with Russell Wilson, they would bring in, baseball players to teach him to help slide. So, I mean, if somebody's got if somebody has a proficiency at something, I would just go get the brightest mind that you can. Because, like you said, I mean, the numbers between him on the road and him at City, it's
staggering.
Somebody's got to be able to figure that one out.
Well, it's still early, and thanks for the call there, buddy. The sample is still relatively small, but there's no disputing the discrepancy between home success and road failure. And I put quotes around failure. It's vast. Yeah. I mean, he is a different pitcher in Queens, and does that hold up the rest of the year? Why is it that? I don't know the reasons. Could be just partially circumstantial. I mean, I don't know. Could be weather-based. You'd have to really do a deep dive. But at least now, and I think most Met fans felt that when Senga's on, he was dangerous. Yeah. Now you start to see, all right, how he pitched against Tampa with the 12 strikeouts.
That was home.
Yeah. Exactly. How we did last night against the Phillies. It's just dominant.
Also home.
Yep. Now you start to say, all right, okay. It's not that much of a stretch, to Tiki's point, to maybe hope that he ascends to the top of the rotation unconventionally.
I thought it was a West Coast thing as I was just looking, but it's not really, because his first start, he was fine. Right? It was at Miami, and he pitched 5 in the third, only gave up 1 run. He had 8 strikeouts. So maybe it is a West Coast thing. Got banged around a little bit in Oakland, got banged around a little bit in San Francisco, got banged around a lot in Cincinnati, Chicago as well. Maybe it's an East Coast thing. I don't know. Maybe seriously. Yeah. Maybe his internal clock is just really off.
Still?
I'm just guessing.
Well, maybe because they do train down in Port St. Lucie, so, I mean, I don't know.
Miami, he was fine. Yeah. Oakland, San Francisco, Cincinnati, Chicago, all off of East Coast time.
Yeah, but Chicago's only an hour.
It doesn't matter. Cincinnati's only an hour.
He's a creature of habit.
I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm purely guessing.
No, I hear you.
But it's uncanny. On the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time, he's actually fantastic.
It's undeniable. I have been told that Volpe's exit velo because Eric brought this up, that Volpe was 106 on the home run. Lindor, 104.6. I'll tell you, by the way, Volpe needed that pop. We'll get to the Yanks a little later. Yanks are jumping on pitchers early, which is a great sign. Let's get Mike in Floral Park. What's happening, Mikey?
How you doing? Morning. I just wanted to follow up on some of the Met chatter here, because last night was such a relief to finally watch a well-pitched game in the bullpen, not to give it away, because they went to their Tier 1 relievers and they held it to check. But any idea when Jose Quintana is going to be back? Because I know he kind of had a career year for an older guy last year, signed him to a 2-year deal. I think he had a fractured rib, and we were talking about July, so I don't know.
That's the last I heard. Mike, that's the last that I heard
and
here.
it's just a weird injury. Like a rib cage, rib injury for a pitcher. Fracture. And I'm assuming it happened from like a stress fracture. So it came from throwing. It didn't come from
blunt trauma.
Yeah, blunt trauma or something.
I think so as well.
That one was odd to me. And so it's hard to predict. By the way, I had that, Mike, when I was playing, and I felt like somebody was stabbing me every single breath I took. So it's not easy to come back from. So I have no idea.
Now he's got to build his whole arm up. It's not like he's basically at zero.
I bet you played through it.
No, I did play through it, but it hurt like hell. I mean, I'm just telling you. If I had to go concentrate on throwing a strike, there's no way. I mean, I could just blind it out and be like, all right, this is going to hurt for the next month or whatever, 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But if I had to pinpoint a strike, there's no way I could have done that. There's no way.
Yeah, it's a different torque. It's a different. Yeah, I hear you. Yep. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I also think that if they can get back up to that 5 to 8 games over 500, we've seen all these other teams get hot after the trade deadline.
Yep.
Things come together. I don't know. If you ask me, my opinion of Epler, I think he has struck out more than he has come through.
Oh, yeah.
That may not be fair, but the last trade deadline, he was like 0 for 3.
No, Mike. I mean, listen, we've talked about Billy, and we'll continue to talk about Billy Epler. Thank you very much for the call there, Mike, as we look ahead to what the Mets might or will do before the trade deadline. Yeah, the constant analysis and dissection of Billy, like Cashman for the Yankees, has been unfavorable. Although with Cashman, there's a track record, there's a history, there's championships. Billy Epler did nothing with the Angels, done very little. He's done very little so far. I know they won 101 games a year ago, second most ever for the Mets. So in their history, you got to make sure you give credit where it's due. But no, the chances that the Mets had in real time to get better, Billy Epler colossally whiffed on.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
And the only excuse is that he is saving resources for Ohtani.
Yep.
So you take the cheap route with Vogelback and Ruff because you don't want to mortgage. You don't want to get that mortgage before you actually have to get the mortgage.
No, I understand what you're saying. There's something to be said for that, but also, the free agent signings were not impacted by lack of desire to part with assets. So
good point.
It's early, but last night again, really, and I said this to Tiki yesterday. Like the Mets need to. It's hard for me to take the Mets seriously for 2 reasons, and the first reason is before last night's game. Not that one game changes everything positively or negatively, but hopefully it starts trending much better for the Mets, is that they have not handled prosperity well.
No.
Every time they show a little bounce, a little energy, the walk-off wins, people are feeling good, that you get that chatter going, all right, here come the Mets, a reminder of what they gave you a year ago for the entire summer, 6 months of great baseball before, came to a rough halt at the end, the Braves, the Padres, They take 2 steps back.
Yeah.
It's the Tigers. It's the Reds. It's the Rockies the first time. It's the Rockies this past weekend. Those are the checkpoints that they need to start passing. But it also works another way. They've also shown an ability when things start to go, I don't want to say really bad because they've basically been 500, but they also show a quick ability to not let it linger too excessively. So that's a good characteristic. I'm just trying to find out who this team is.
Yeah.
And if Senga's like Senga last night, the entire outlook changes. Undeniable for me. Right, Teak?
100% agree. If it comes down to an individual accountability, and Senga had it last night, and if he has it like that for the rest of the season, he will be their ace, and he gives them a chance just to get to wherever they need to get. I think eventually Scherzer figures it out in Verlander as well, but to me, Senga is the X factor. And if he can pitch like he did last night and like he did against Toronto, really anytime he's at home, then Kodai Senga can be the ace that this Mets team needs.